What's up YouTube, Jason here. I'm going to be analyzing the after credit scene, then I'll talk more about the man in the shadows in detail. I suggest you guys watch the credit scene again to refresh you about what's going on, then come back and I'll explain. But anyways, if you're ready, let's get started. Now, I've looked at this scene so many times, and in that scene, the man in the shadows says, we'll let him be for now. That we will indicates he's not the only one. He could be part of a group or be hired by someone, and I'm going to be talking about that more later. But anyways, also notice how the man in the shadows throws his arm when he says the boy's father. That body language shows that he can be a threat. He's displaying that he's the big guy here, and he's showing aggression. Also, do you realize he worries about the father and not the mother? The big theme about Spider-Man is his parents, and it's a bit off how this guy focuses on the father. And also, this man in the shadows must have something to do with Oscorp Industry, because Dr. Connors and Peter's dad work together in Oscorp. I said it in the movie. Also, after that, notice how there was one camera take on the back of Dr. Connor's head. The question is, why would they do that? Alright, so I definitely looked into it, and a group of people said there were scales on the back of his neck, and at first I could not see anything. Then I looked back at it, and there was sort of scales on, not on the back of his neck, but somewhere around the neck, between the face and the neck, below the ear. I don't know if you guys can see it clearly, but there is something that looks like scales, I guess. And I thought at first, I thought it was just facial hair, but looking back at it now, it kind of does look like scales. But right now, I don't see the importance of it. I guess it's just to show the after effect of the serum and what it could do. But so far, I don't see really any importance of that. And people said there was a bite. Dr. Connors had a bite from a vampire. Now, at first, I thought they were talking about Twilight, but then it is true, there is a vampire in Spider-Man, and he is an enemy of Spider-Man, of course, but I don't see how he could be in a story. It doesn't relate to Oscorp at all, and I don't see them adding that to the story. But you never know. So the man in the shadows, shoulders are curved. He's playing around with this hat, and some fans think about it as like it plays a major role about the villain. And I looked through most villains. I couldn't see a normal guy, with a normal outfit, with a normal fedora hat. I think it's just impossible for a Spider-Man villain. But, you never know. And on a serious note, I don't think it plays a major role for the villain. It's just an outfit. And some fans think of it as something to throw us off, Maybe it really did have no significant importance, but just to throw us off. And right now, I'm starting to agree with them, but I just don't see anything important with that hat. But with that being said, I could be wrong. There could be someone else, a villain who, might use that hat. But right now, I don't see a major thing about it. Alright, in order to know who the man in the shadows is, we need some background knowledge. The main theme of the Making Spider-Man movie is Peter Parker's parents. The trailer, the conversations, and the movie indicates that's what all these upcoming movies is all about. Now we're going to get into the good stuff. Peter's dad, known as Captain Richard Parker, a soldier of the U.S. Army Special Forces, was recruited by Nick Fury to the CIA. Now, Nick Fury is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and in other comics, he is head of S.H.I.E.L.D., but basically, he works for S.H.I.E.L.D., and for those of you who don't know what he looks like, he's the guy with the patch in his eye, and he's an Iron Man, an Avengers movie. So Nick Fury is the guy who recruited Peter's dad, and that plays a major role. Alright, now let's get into Peter's mom. Oh, that sounded wrong, but whatever, let's get into it. Peter's mom, her real name is Mary Fitzpatrick, and she is a daughter of an OSS agent, and an OSS means Office of Strategic Services. She attended the best schools and eventually followed in her father's footsteps. I mean, we saw that coming, right? And she became a CIA translator and data analyst. So she became, she worked for the CIA just like Peter's dad. And that's how they met. Alright, so Richard and Mary, they met on the job. They fell in love and, eventually they got married. Now, Mary became a field agent just like Richard. And they had, they had an easy cover as a married couple. But, when they made love, they had a baby, which was Peter Parker, and in the movie, the parents left the boy, and this is why. While on a mission to investigate Albert Malik, the third Red Skull, they posed as traitors and double agents to infiltrate his criminal organization in Algeria. Now, unfortunately, they were discovered. Malik framed them and brought an assassin called the Finisher to kill the two. Finisher sabotaged the airplane and caused it to crash. Remember in the movie, it showed you like how the plane crashed, and but they were subsequently declared missing in action, presumed dead. Now, presumed dead, they could be alive, but I think they're really dead, and because they had two burnt bodies, and it was found in the remains. Now, some people think the guy in the shadow is Peter's dad himself, but it's not likely. The only reason Peter's dad would be alive because in the Ultimate Marvel universe, Richard Parker was part in creating Venom. But we're talking about the Amazing Spider-Man series, not Ultimate Universe. And but like I said before, there's many versions of Spider-Man. But the title Amazing Spider-Man shows that the director is mainly focusing on the original comics created by Stan Lee. Alright, anyways, back to the point. This picture is Finisher, the killer, Peter Parker's parents. Also, again, the main theme is what the story is going for, is Peter Parker's parents. That's the main theme of, that's why they made a reboot, I guess. I don't like to call it reboot because the movie is really good. I don't consider it to be reboot. But, the reason why, they kind of started over again to have a fresh start and took back, Peter Parker's parents. And they want to continue that theme, I think. And by putting this guy in the next film, they will definitely do so because he's the guy who killed his parents. And in the trilogy, I can see a trilogy coming. They can put the Red Skull himself, who ordered the attack, and is the reason why, mainly the reason why his parents were there, which makes a great trilogy. If Red Skull would be in a third one, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. But I think this Finisher guy should be in the next movie because he's the guy who killed his parents and that he caused the plane crash. Also, his hair and his outfit is normal, and I think the guy in the shadows had a pretty normal outfit. And I can imagine him with the raspy voice, and I think he could be that villain, but there's still a high chance of him becoming the next villain, like I said. And as I said before, I can imagine this guy with the voice and everything. But, that still doesn't explain how he left, which I'm pretty curious. But I think this guy might be the next one, but I don't know. Well, we'll see. Alright, let's talk about more possible villains. And a lot of people think it's Norman Osborn. I mean, I don't blame him. At first, I thought it was Norman Osborn. He's the co-owner of Oscorp Industries. He definitely knows Peter's dad and Dr. Connors, which makes it pretty convincing. But he's sick and appears to be close to dying. And I heard reports that, they confirmed it wasn't him at all. And like I said, he appears to be sick, close to dying, unless... I remember this guy is Irfan Khan, who plays as Dr. Rajit Ratha, and he takes Connor's serum, and later that night, Ratha is being driven across the bridge to get to the hospital when Connor's now transformed to the lizard begins attacking the citizens. Now, people flee from their cars while he stays in his, and then the lizard attacks him, and the lizard ends up throwing the car off the bridge. But Spidey saves him and webs the car to the side of the bridge, so he's kept alive. And, I think there's a reason why they did that. And he has his serum. Norman is sick, so there's a good chance we'll be seeing Green Goblin. But that doesn't mean he's the man in the shadows. Alright, not only did I, watch the movie, look back at the scenes again, and I searched up comics, but I also looked up the game. And an Amazing Spider-Man game, which takes place after the movie, right from the start of the game, Oscorp begins to keep testing on cross species, which means there's a good chance they're making the test for Norman, which leads, to him being the upcoming Goblin. But if he does become Goblin, he does get smarter and super strong, but loses his sanity, and that's the effects that Dr. Connor had, which overall makes this make sense. Also, why is he in a movie if he doesn't have a big role to fill? So there is a big chance that Osborn will be in the next movie, but that doesn't mean he's the man in shadows again. But anyways, Osborn has a clean look, and that makes no sense how he disappeared. But the looks doesn't even matter. But I just don't get how he disappeared. But anyways, let's go back to Norman Osborn. In previous comics, Stanley points out that he has amnesia. So if he's sick, they could be talking about his mental sickness or the fact that he has amnesia, or maybe something else different from the comics. Also, in Batman, how the first movie was a minor villain, which was Scarecrow, and the second movie they put in the big guns and putting the main villain, the Joker. They could have the same effect here. First movie, a minor villain, giving the audience the new setting and theme, and the next movie they're gonna bring in the big guns again, having the big main villain, when the audience already knows the basis of the theme, and the story, giving the production more space to deliver a great story. But if the Green Goblin comes into the story, Gwen will die.